Okay, so I just want to start off with the most important news of the day.
Yeah.
And that is that, as you may notice, my hair has gotten quite long.
It has.
Now, how is this possible? How did this come to be
Yeah.
that I have such long hair now? And this is the longest I've ever had my hair since I can recall. All right. The reason is I was letting it go because I was lazy. And then I said, I told my wife, this is getting ridiculous. I got to get a haircut. And she says, wait, I really like it this long. I said, come on, just stop.
Yeah.
And she said, no, please let it grow a little bit more. So I said, okay. And I thought it was nuts.
Yeah.
I just didn't understand it.
Right.
And she also wants me to grow a beard.
Okay.
So that'll be interesting. But that's another story. The long hair is the focus of this topic right now.
Yeah.
So I decide I'll go ahead and do this. And she just loves it, as it gets longer and longer.
Right.
And then finally, I come to the office and I meet a couple of our female staff.
Right.
And I tell them, can you believe my wife likes this hair this long?
Yeah.
And then they said, actually, we've been meaning to talk to you about that. We really like it too. Like, at two, Brutus?
Yeah.
But I thought that was weird. So I thought, okay, well, I got 3 crazy women in my life.
Right.
That's it. And then I took a client to lunch.
Yeah.
And on the way back from lunch, we go through a crosswalk, and this car stops kind of like abruptly because it's a crosswalk, right? I guess she didn't expect to have to stop, but she understood she had to. It was fair. But she rolled down the window. I thought she was going to yell at me.
Right.
Because, are you crazy? You shouldn't crosswalk, even if you got the right of way, whatever.
Yeah.
No. She rolls down the window, sticks her head out and says, I love your hair. And I thought, okay, did my wife pay? Then I started getting conspiratorial. Right. And I thought, okay, there's no way. Anyway, the bottom line is I've got long hair now.
Yeah.
And I guess I got to keep it this way.
Yeah.
And I don't get it. I don't get you women, I got to tell you. But then I went to my wife and I said, can you please explain to me why women like it?
Right.
She says, we just do. Haven't you ever seen the cover of all these romance novels? Right? It's always some guy holding this beautiful woman, but he's bare-chested. And yes, he's got long hair.
Yeah. Long,
flowy hair. That's what they want.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess she's right. I mean, that's what they want.
Yeah.
They want to pour their hair, their fingers through your hair. It's just meaningful to them. Once again, I will not understand women. That's just the way it is.
But it's not like Fabio Long. Where
no,
it's
not.
It goes down
apparently, my wife would love it if it's Fabio Long.
It's like the Beatles right after they stopped wearing suits. Like it's kind of like that.
It. Yes,
where
I see
a
what
little
you're
bit rugged, a little bit. But like it's kind of in the 60s. They're no longer the 50s.
Yeah, but you see, I got used to the idea of long hair with the hippies.
Yeah.
And I really have a bad association with the hippies.
Really?
Because I didn't grow up with them. I was young.
Yeah.
But while they were around, so I was like, I don't know, 6 to 12 years old when it was kind of like the heyday of the hippie movement. And I just couldn't stand them.
Yeah.
And so I associated their long hair with their freakiness and the drugs and the lack of work ethic. I mean, everything, and they smelled.
Right.
So it was a bad association. Now all of a sudden, here I am. Get a job, hippie.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to yell at me soon enough. All right. So enough about that nonsense. But I really want to talk about our main theme today, which is Trump as a leader. President Trump as a leader. I like to say the word President Trump.
It's good.
It's much nicer. I love hearing myself say President Trump because of, I'd like to send this video back to early 2024 when I wasn't so sure.
Yeah.
And to say, yeah, it's going to happen. Anyway, people talk about him being confusing and, make a decision. And even Ben Shapiro talks. I mean, he's talking incessantly about how Trump is not making clear what his end goal is.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, Ben, and I know Ben, I like him. He's a friend of mine.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he doesn't get it because he said when he went down the escalator, he said for too long, presidents have been entirely predictable.
Right.
about what they will or won't do about something. It's time to be unpredictable.
Right.
I want people to guess what I'm going to be doing. And that's power.
Right.
And he's right. That's exactly what he was doing. He didn't say, look, I want 0 for 0 tariffs, and unless you do it my way, we're not going to cooperate with you. So 0 for 0, that's the deal. Take it or leave it. No, he's not going to do that.
Yeah.
He wants people to wonder. He wants all these leaders, what the hell do we do?
Right.
And so they'll kowtow to him. And it's not because of his ego. He wants America to thrive. And this is the way he's choosing to do it.
Right.
Now, today the market went up by, I think, almost 3,000 points.
Wow.
One of the biggest gains in stock market history.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that in a moment. But right now, the theme is about the predictability issue. Part of being a great leader is keeping your enemies guessing.
Right.
That's so important.
Yeah.
And Ari Fleischer recently, formerly of the White House chief of staff, I believe, for Bush, said that exact thing about Trump, saying, why are you surprised?
Yeah.
He told you he's going to be unpredictable. And when they ask him, what is your game plan? He says, I don't know. We'll see.
Right.
We'll just have to see, won't we? And of course he knows what he wants to do. He's just not telling you.
Right.
That is part of a great leader. Really making the other side guess what the frig you're going to do.
Right.
Okay. Think of it like, whenever you're dealing with the opposition in law or otherwise, if you've got an adversary, don't telegraph what you're going to do.
Right.
Right? I mean, you wouldn't do that in chess.
No.
You got to make them wonder.
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies, but also what I tell clients a lot of times is, I want you to be like the shark in the movie Jaws.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? Well, part of what made the shark in Jaws so terrifying is you never got to see him until toward the end.
Right.
You just kind of know he's there.
Yeah.
Where will he appear? What will he do? So he had this outsized sort of proportion of what he was. You imagine that the shark was everywhere.
Right.
And bigger than a thousand sharks somehow. He was so big.
He was huge, yeah.
But it was only one shark after
Right.
all. And if you just saw him all the time, you would know exactly where he is, and you would react to him exactly where he was, and you would kill him.
Right.
But not knowing where he is, well, that's a different story.
Yeah.
Not knowing what he might do, when he might attack, that made him powerful.
Right.
And that's what made it a scary movie and a suspenseful movie for the sake of the audience.
Right.
Okay? So let me make a comparison with Julius Caesar, because many times I think that I always thought Julius Caesar and Trump should be in the same sentence, one way or the other.
Really?
Yeah, they're both leaders.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So that in that sense they're the same. But there's a lot in their personalities that is similar. Not identical,
Yeah.
but quite similar. Now, Julius Caesar, you might say, well, he took over power, he became a dictator. That's not what I'm going for.
Right.
But in terms of exercising power, there were some amazing things that Julius Caesar did. He was a fantastic leader.
Right.
And he really brought Rome and united Rome together. One of the things that people don't know about him is how effective he was as a general during the wars in Europe,
Right.
particularly in France and Germany.
Right.
Germania is what they called it.
Yeah. The Gauls too. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Gauls. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what France would be. But anyway, so there was a famous moment during his attack upon Germania
Yeah.
where, and they were huge people, and he wanted to kind of send a message to them. So he brought out a legion, and they made a special bridge. It was a whole new invention.
Yeah.
And they built it, I think, in the span of, a couple of days. And this is across the Rhine River, which is a very wide river, but they made it happen,
Right.
one after the other. And they knew the Germans were watching
Oh wow.
with a lot of curiosity, no doubt. And they built it. And after 8 days, he crossed the river with his entire legion,
Yeah.
and then kind of roamed about the other side of Germania, knowing that the Germans were watching.
Right.
And then he crossed back and he destroyed the bridge just to show them
Yeah.
that he could do it, that this was nothing to him.
Right.
and the Germans were terrified of Julius Caesar ever since then.
Yeah.
Okay? That is Trump.
Right.
That's my man, Trump.
Yeah.
Okay? You are so foolish to think that somehow Trump doesn't know what he's doing. He knows very well what he's doing. He's creating that, I'm not going to let you know anything about me,
right,
sort of feeling. Catch me if you can. Try to pigeonhole who I am. Right. The only thing you need to know about me is that I'm not going to let you pin me down.
Right.
Are we clear on this? He's unpredictable, and that's part of his persona. That's part of his leadership style. That's what he expects of himself and what he wants for America.
Yeah.
If you want America to succeed, don't telegraph what you're going to do.
100%.
Yeah. So that is leadership. That's part of leadership. It's not the only thing about leadership. But another thing that he shares with Julius Caesar, and I love about Julius Caesar, is that Julius Caesar knew the names of so many of his men.
Yeah.
I mean, he knew about not only their names, but he knew about their families.
Yeah.
And he would ask them, how's such and such? How are you doing? Oh, that's great. You had a kid. Everything going well with him? And they loved him.
Yeah.
They were so loyal to him. Trump has that.
100%.
Right? He knows people's backgrounds. He delights in learning about people.
Yeah.
And asking them about it.
Oh, 100%.
I loved about him.
Oh, yeah. And just to add to Julius Caesar, he learned the language of his opponents. He learned their culture. And while I don't think that Trump understands Mandarin, he understands, okay, if I put a truck, like the last term, if I put tariffs on China, they're just going to send it through Australia. They're going to send it through Vietnam. So he says, I'm going to do tariffs everywhere. They're going to have to negotiate with me. And they're not going to be able to take Chinese supplies because they know the tariffs are going to come.
Right on.
They already see the strength, like the bridge. And then we can take down the bridge.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that back in.
Yeah.
Look, more than 50 countries, actually close to 70 countries, have contacted the Trump administration to initiate negotiations over a broad swath of tariffs that were announced in the first week of April on nearly every nation in the world. In an interview with ABC News this week, Kevin Hassett, head of the White House's National Economic Council, said that, quote, there are more than 50 countries reaching out and trying to negotiate this new status with the president since the tariffs were announced. They're doing that because they understand that they bear a lot of the tariff.
Yeah.
He told the outlet. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. So look, this is a reflection about understanding not only basic economics, but about human nature.
Right.
Trump knew this all along. There's no way anyone can win, quote unquote, a tariff war against the United States.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's a good war because tariffs, it's not just economics where our businesses are making money. The entire world is getting our products at 30% less price, 70% less price. The tariffs are the tax on the foreigners buying our product.
Right.
Suddenly it's instead of like, €1, it's 70 euro or so, like 0.70 or whatever they say. It's I don't know their sense. But like it's one of those things where it's people don't say that all the people in the world are going to benefit with lower prices if their countries drop the tariffs.
It's so basic, but even more basic is that this is a question of fairness. If you were to present this to a court of law,
yeah,
and let's say France were to complain about what Trump is doing, and France goes to court and says to the judge, "Can you believe what he is doing? Huh? He wants us to." He wants to give us 50% tariffs on us.
Yeah.
Can you believe it, Your Honor? Well, France, how much are you charging the United States?
Yeah.
50%. So you're complaining. You're doing it, but you're complaining when the United States does it.
Right.
Why? There's no legitimate basis.
None.
So they only want to. It's a little bit like the way they treat Israel, right? They only show the soldier aiming a gun into Gaza.
Yeah.
But they don't show all these people trying to kill the Israeli
100%.
in particular. So that's what's happening here. The Israeli in that example is not acting on his own.
Right.
He's acting because somebody's actually trying to shoot him.
100%. And Trump is not the bully. He's standing up to the bully.
That's right. He's standing up to bully. And
like
that's
Israel.
that's what they can't abide.
Right.
And Israel, very smartly, I think it was the first one saying, "Hey, we're with you. 0%, 0%. Thank you.
That's wonderful.
And how can we help you in the future?" Because first of all, Israel loves America. Netanyahu loves Trump. It's great. But India is doing the same thing. Vietnam is doing the same thing. A lot of countries get it.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, it's probably a good idea to have zero tariffs all around.
100%.
And that's what they're gunning for, and they're hoping that he'll eventually agree to. But, the unpredictable, President Trump.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Right.
So they're going to be more desperate to say, come on, guys. And they're probably trying to get every other country, come on, let's do this. If we do this all as a team, we can get this madness done.
Right.
Done and over, rather.
100%.
That's what's happening. I'm very excited about this, and I'm very impressed and very happy that our president is finally doing something about it.
Yeah.
Now, I want to make a parallel to this, because Trump has been saying we've been doing this for far too long. We've been caving to this. In fact, it's been since World War II.
Yeah.
We allowed them to impose tariffs on us because we were not destroyed in World War II.
Right.
They were. Okay, great. Impose tariffs on us, and you guys can be insular for a while and protect your own economies and grow and develop, and you'll be strong again.
Right.
Well, it's been 80 years.
Yeah.
It literally 80 years. Right now, this year, 80 years.
Right.
Since the end of World War II.
Right.
And they're still having the same tariffs. What makes that right?
Right.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And now is the time to lower that.
Yes.
That's what it is. So it's very much like, what was the example I was going to give? The embassy.
Yeah.
In Israel. Remember all this talk about moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the presidents preceding Trump from Reagan
right.
Said, we're going to move the embassy. They didn't do it. It was all political talk. It was mumbo jumbo. It was just political campaigning talk. They never intended to do it. Why? Because they were afraid that there was going to be some sort of blow up in the Middle East if the United States moved their embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, as if anybody gave a crap about that.
Yeah.
It was purely symbolic. But they were worried. Somebody whispered in each president's ear saying, "Oh, sir, you really shouldn't do that because, the street won't like it," whatever the street meant, right?
Yeah.
And so they caved in. They didn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And then Trump said, "We'll do something about it." And he promised it, like every previous president had promised.
Right.
That was no different. But then he actually did it.
Yeah, which was different.
Which was super different. And guess what? The street didn't do a thing about it.
No.
And likewise, the previous presidents did nothing about these tariffs. They should have done something about it. And this leader is saying yes. And you know what? Democrats should be thrilled about this.
Right.
We now know that Chuck Schumer and what's her name, that leader from San Francisco? Pelosi,
yeah.
And Elizabeth Warren, I think even, had said that these tariffs were too high. They mentioned they paid lip service to it.
Right.
And they were blaming the opposition president at the time. You've got to do something about this. Well, okay, here we are. The president is doing something about it. And then now they're saying exactly the opposite. He's going to destroy the country. That we'll go into a massive worldwide recession.
Right.
Such BS.
Oh.
It's really remarkable, right?
It's horrible. And they keep on saying, it's going to be a recession. The economy. And how do you get a recession? You get everybody scared by constantly talking about a recession. Yeah. And to go back to Europe, what did Europe do with the money for the tariffs? Did they still made us shoulder the military finance burden on the EU, and they gave their country free health care?
Yes.
Well, our country doesn't have free health care. So they are getting way more than us, acting like they're better than us because they have free health care.
Using the technology and the innovation that we give them.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Continuing on with the tariffs, because it is a big story. It'll be hard for the time being, the tariffs, right? But even with this pause now, there's a 90-day pause. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
You'll see. So the president called on Americans to hang tough through what he described as a difficult but necessary adjustment period.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Nothing big happens without difficulty.
Right.
Surprise!
Yeah.
Like, I want all the muscles. I want my six-pack. I want to lose 50 pounds. You know, if it's not overnight, well, then it's not worth doing.
Right.
I mean, it isn't exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
So he's exactly right about this. It's like this whole thing, I said this before, it's like ending a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
It'll be tough at first, but in the end, it's much better for you.
Right.
I mean, it's that simple.
Yeah.
An abusive husband, let's say, terrible to his wife, beats her up all the time. She stays in for the time being because, you know, she's just locked into him for some reason.
Right.
But she can't imagine leaving him. But then, finally, there's a last straw of some kind or the other, and she leaves him. It's very tough. She's inclined to race back to him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But her friends support her, and she stays out of it. And finally, the cloud breaks, and she realizes how she was in a terrible relationship, and now great things can start happening for her.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same thing.
Yeah. And on that note, all the Democrats, all the leftists who are like, oh my God, the stock market. Oh my God. We're the same ones who are saying the stock market's not the economy. And they're going to be the same one when the stock market blows up, or be like, oh yeah, the stock market's not the economy. I've never mentioned the stock market. And they're going to completely forget about that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, they know that Americans, and the world for that matter, have a very short-term memory.
Yeah.
Look, another metaphor I'd like to give is like cutting off a spoiled child from his allowance.
Yeah.
Who was just using it for his drug fix.
That's
right?
Europe.
That was Europe. Yep.
Yeah.
Or being stuck in a dead-end job.
Yeah.
Right? Where you know that quitting will be tough, but that's the only way to get a better new job. Right? That is, if you view allowing them to do tariffs as a subsidy of some sort. Right? Anyway, by allowing them to cut off American goods, which is what they were doing, they were getting free goodies where they don't have to meaningfully compete.
Right.
That's what was happening.
Yeah.
At the same time, they demand, I tells you, that the Americans allow them to bring their goods into the United States.
Right.
Yeah. It seems like a fair deal.
Yeah.
I mean, the chutzpah of European countries and many other countries to be angry with America for tariffing them, even though they're tariffing us.
Right.
For higher amounts.
Yeah.
In some cases. Anyway, so eventually Trump agreed to put a pause on this because he's getting what he wanted.
Yeah.
And Epoch Times and Washington Times, for example, all saying this is great. You know, Trump is showing his leadership, right?
Right.
New York Times, however, has a different angle on this.
Wait, New York Times isn't totally pro-Trump?
Believe it or not.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's right. This is their title. The S&P 500 rose more than 9% after President Trump announced he would pause most of his quote-unquote reciprocal tariffs for 90 days. But economics warned that American importers were not out of danger. And they also said that he was backing down. Okay, that was the key phrase.
Yeah.
Backing down from this.
Yeah.
Okay. No, he's not backing down, you idiots. It's part of the game. It's what we talked about, being unpredictable.
Right.
He's showing the world that he means business and that the world has felt the pain.
Yeah.
And he's telling them, I know how to do this. You want this again? Because I can turn off the spigot just by saying boo.
Yeah, and that was only 3 days of pain too.
Right.
Well,
that's the bridge.
Yeah.
He built the bridge, and now the Germans, as it were, are terrified.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And he did it for the countries that didn't try to retaliate.
Right.
So that's the good news.
Yeah.
Bloomberg, also a liberal outlet, said that Trump blinked. Like, I guess it's too hot in here. I gotta, it's too hot in this kitchen. I gotta get out of here. You really think that he blinked?
Yeah.
This guy, had he wanted to, all he had to say is, I want everyone to go to zero, and then we'll not impose any more tariffs.
Right.
And I want to deal with every country. Boom. That's all he had to say. There wouldn't be any blinking,
no.
But he's going somewhere further than that. He wants to show that he can make this pain happen.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he wanted. He wanted the stock market to go down. He wanted the other stock markets to go down just by saying boo. Don't you get it?
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
That was the bridge he built to terrify the Germans.
100%. And the funny thing is, the last election, the Wall Street, not on Trump's side. So the stock's going down. We're losing more like, stockbrokers. I don't think Trump's really that sad. And honestly, I'm not either, because like he did great for the stock market in his first term. They didn't support him the second term. So guess what, son?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Like,
I love
he's not owned by you.
Like, the bottom line is he's the best negotiator that there is. I mean, he wrote the art of the deal. He knows how to make a deal. He understands people very well. He understands pressure points. He understands leverage. He's using it very effectively.
It's beautiful.
There were no negotiations. And he said there won't be any negotiations until he feels like it.
Right.
You think that he doesn't know what he's doing? Yeah. That's the amazing thing to me. This man is a billionaire beyond belief. He played the game with your lawfare against him. He knew exactly what he was doing. Even that mugshot that was imposed, he exploited that to his advantage. The man's brilliant.
Now when you go into the Oval Office, you pass the mugshot.
Yes.
He's going to show that, shove that in your face, and it's so beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's showing the world who's boss.
Right.
All caps.
Yeah.
That's the idea. He is Julius Caesar with the bridge.
Yeah.
All right. I wanted to play for you this very funny kind of response by CNN and Jake Tapper. Take a listen to Jake Tapper's question, and then how the foreign minister of Canada responds. Just listen to her tone, okay?
The Canadian Foreign Minister, Melanie Joly. Minister Joly, where do negotiations stand right now between Canada and the United States? Are you talking with the Trump administration? Is there any hope for a last-minute reprieve?
Well, at this point, there's no how can I say, there are ongoing discussions, but there's no ongoing negotiation. I was at NATO last week, saw Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, had some constructive conversations, but at the same time, we're still under tariffs for steel and aluminum. We're still under tariffs because of also the auto sector. We just, as you mentioned, Jake, we just imposed new tariffs for all non-USMCA compliant cars coming to Canada. And also what we're under is that 25% tariff based on fentanyl crossing the Canadian border, going into the US. Well, we know that actually there's less than all of the fentanyl.
All right. Anyway, so I think you got the idea.
Yeah.
But what's important here, and she later on, by the way, says that the relationship between Canada and the United States will never be the same.
Oh, no.
Right? Like, oh, no. Sacre bleu. The question was a legitimate question. Like, what are you going to do?
Right.
That's very fair. And her response, it's more the tone. That's why I wanted to play it. She doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
She's, I would say, terrified, maybe quite concerned. Let's be generous here. She's very concerned about the situation. It's suddenly there's been this massive assault on the economy of Canada because they don't want to back down to impose tariffs on us.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you're our big trading partner, but you still need us a hell of a lot more than we need you.
Yeah.
So, and she doesn't talk anything about the fairness of the tariffs that were already imposed upon America. No one's talking about that.
No.
I haven't heard a single country other than Israel saying, you know what, you've got a point.
Right.
Israel said it.
Yeah.
And Bibi Netanyahu is right. I think Japan's going to say it. I believe India said it as well.
Nice.
It's not fair.
Right.
It makes sense. You know what? We will reduce everything to zero. We hope that's acceptable to you, Mr. President.
Yeah.
This one, however, she just doesn't know how to respond.
Yeah.
And the reason why I wanted to play this is she's emblematic of the issues of the day.
And it's interesting, too, because, like, Trudeau just resigned. Carney took over. There's an election coming up with Pierre Poilievre, who is conservative. And so there is, like, uncertainty. And I think that's going on with Keir Starmer. It's very uncertain. They actually had to put Le Pen in prison or, like, convict her to get her out. Europe is changing politically, and Trump is just adding fuel to that fire of freedom and democracy.
You know it.
Yeah.
You know it. All right. I want to move into a couple of other topics because other things have been happening in the world.
Yeah.
Pam Bondi, the United States Attorney General, is pursuing the death penalty against Luigi Mangione. He's the guy that killed the what's his name? Brian Thompson.
Yeah.
The CEO of, I believe, not Allstate, a big insurance company.
Yeah, it's a medical insurance. Yeah.
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 Anyway, death penalty against Luigi Mangione. You know what? That poor guy.
Yeah.
I bet it makes him wonder whether he should have even killed that insurance guy in the first place. Yeah. You know what? Maybe that was wrong. Maybe I shouldn't have done that.
That is what.
Well,
yeah.
Poor guy. Poor guy.
Do you think
the audacity of her to ask for the death penalty? It's crazy. It's kind of like these other countries saying the audacity of America to impose tariffs back.
Right.
Right. Do I think what?
Now, do you think that it wasn't Ray, it was Merrick Garland? Do you think Garland would actually go for the death penalty, or would he be like, sweep it under the rug, let's plea it out, so something small, and
it would be something that would be small.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
It's very weird, the dynamic. What is it? 55%. I'm getting ahead of myself here, but 55% feel that it's okay to assassinate the president. 55% of Democrats.
That is just terrifying.
Feel that it's okay to it. You know, it would be understandable. They wouldn't want it necessarily, but they would understand it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, no, there's no understanding this.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't have to like his policies. I didn't like anything that Biden had to say. In fact, I feel he was a drug lord, in effect.
Yeah.
Working with the cartels. There's a certain point where you are so recklessly negligent.
Yeah.
And that's. I think there was some intention there. But let's just say that he looked the other way. And while all this sex trafficking was happening, the drug trafficking was happening, at some point, you got to say this is the equivalent of somebody driving, with 2.0 in his blood stream. Alcohol, I think that's very high. I don't know. I don't know that too much.
Yeah, you're dead at that point. But
okay. All right. But really, really high blood alcohol level. And then you drive recklessly.
Yeah.
And then you say, well, I didn't intend to kill anybody.
Right.
Right. But you're going to go to jail. And you're going to go to jail for manslaughter as well.
Yeah.
And maybe even second-degree murder based on the level of the recklessness.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what I think Biden was doing.
Yeah.
Now, why do I bring up Biden? Because I would never say, I can understand if somebody killed him.
No.
It's not understanding it. There's nothing appropriate about that.
Right.
You work to fight him. You work maybe to impeach him. Fine. Maybe if it's possible to pursue criminal proceedings against him. Fine.
Yeah.
But you don't do this vigilante justice. It doesn't even leave your lips.
Right.
But for the Democrats, at least 55% of them, they're okay with that.
Yeah.
All right.
It is terrifying.
Very, very, very terrifying. So there's more. So I wanted to tell you this kind of interesting story. I was in an Uber with this woman who was taking me, it doesn't matter where, but she was nice. Young lady, about 30 years old. In fact, I know that she's 30 years old. Yeah. And we got to talking a little bit. And she saw me. I was dressed in with a decent, kind of like with this kind of shirt, but also a jacket.
Yeah.
And I told her I was going to a business in Los Angeles. That's all she knew.
Yeah.
And she said in the process that I probably never hired anybody of minority status. Did I?
She said that?
Yeah.
Was she status of?
She was from Mexico originally, but her English was like yours and mine. She was very, very, very American. And she went on to use words like privileged person, and she said it as a matter of fact, not accusatory or anything else, but you're a privileged guy. I bet you're a privileged guy, and you don't even know it. And that
she went
sort of
to college.
Yeah. Oh, the sad part was not that she held these positions, and beliefs, but that she wants to believe them.
Yeah.
She wanted to believe them. That was clear, because in her mind's eye, I think it helped her keep stuck in her rut and to explain whatever rut she was in.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, no, I've got agency of my own. I'm in control of my life. And I felt sad because I know that she represented many other people. Now, look, we had a very pleasant conversation otherwise. I actually think I turned her around on this because I talked to her about this. And I said, listen, You don't know anything about me.
Yeah.
You don't know what I don't need to tell you how many minorities I hired, because I have.
Oh yeah.
I just hire the best people. Some of them happen to be gay. Some of them happen to be black. Some of them happen to be Hispanic.
Yeah.
I believe we even had a trans person. I didn't even know she was trans, and that's fine.
Yeah. God bless her. She was good.
She was very good.
Yeah.
And yeah, you remember her.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But and she had to move, so that was it. But we really enjoyed her presence.
100%.
And she did a good job. But anyway, the point is, she knew nothing about me.
Right.
This Uber driver, and they feel comfortable saying this. So imagine her, 10,000 times over, 100,000 times over. This is what they are teaching them.
Yeah.
They're being taught that capitalism is evil. That America is evil, of course. Anyone who is successful because of his skin color.
Yeah.
This is so destructive. And that's why, in addition, like this Luigi Mangione, who's getting much more attention. He's getting GoFundMe things.
Oh my God.
It's amazing. He's a decent looking guy, so I think a lot of girls like that.
Yeah.
And a nice six-pack, and some of the pictures that they presented of him. And so, give him money, therefore, because he's decent looking. If he was ugly, they would say, okay, well,
All right.
carve him away to the prison. But it's interesting that people feel this way about being stuck in the rut, and they're happy to stick it to the man, because that is their solution to life's problems. Stick it to the man. And if sticking it to the man means killing the man, in this case, they're talking about Trump, then they they understand it at the very least.
Right.
But you and I know that they actually applaud it.
100%.
So, in fact, I'll prove the point.
Yeah.
When they almost killed Trump in the Butler, Pennsylvania rally during the campaign, the most common refrain, maybe, do you remember this?
Yeah. From
Facebook and Twitter and otherwise, everyone who didn't like Trump, what did they say?
They said it was either faked or that it was he should have. Oh my God! Yeah, even Tenacious D said that they shouldn't have missed.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. That's what I was going for. The question is like, he missed?
Yeah.
Question mark? Question mark? Oh, what a pity! Like this would have been so glorious, and that would have been great. Which only goes to show what a threat they perceived Trump to be.
Yeah.
But it's not just these wackos who say that. It's also the politicians.
Right.
They are that hot to trot against Trump. They talk about revolution practically.
Yeah.
Violence in the streets. You get in their faces, Maxine Waters and Chuck Schumer. You'll reap the whirlwind, Kavanaugh, things like that.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know.
It's so ignorant, especially go back to the story of the Mexican driver. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's because of your ethnicity. Oh, do you know that Mexico's like, you have Olmec, Aztec, Mayan. You have a very diverse, and that's the native population. For us, the French wave, the German wave. Mexican music is German music. It's German polka music. You've got Irish. You've got, believe it or not, Spanish, where the language came from. There's so much white in that country. There's so much diversity of ethnicity.
There's no common sense with these people.
And they don't understand it.
They don't understand
They just think, oh, Mexican's one thing. Well, that's ignorant. It's not one ethnicity. It's one nationality.
If we really believed that being white, and in my case, I don't even consider myself white. I'm Jewish.
Yeah.
If I actually believe, let's say just a straight white guy that was Christian, and I really believed that being white gave me such privilege,
right?
I would never consider dating anybody of minority status, black, Hispanic, or otherwise, because my child would be half, whatever that minority status would be, half black, for example. Why would I want to, quote unquote, hobble my child?
Right.
And take away that glorious privilege. Why wouldn't I not do anything but hang out with other white people, for that matter?
Yeah.
Why? I mean, it doesn't make sense. They cannot explain all these people that have mixed marriages or are 1/4 black or 3/4 white or whatever it might be. I mean, most black people in America today have some white ancestors.
Yeah.
Most of them do.
Yeah.
And if you want to prove that to yourself, then go to Africa.
Yeah.
All right. Their skin is a lot darker.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no white in them.
Right.
And there's all sorts of reasons why there's a little bit of white blood in a lot of black people in America. It doesn't matter, right? But the fact is that there's some white and some people, what's her name? Like Rachel Dozabon or something like that. What's her name?
She pretended to be. Yeah.
She pretended to be black when she wasn't. Okay, but the fact that she could even pretend and people believed her was interesting.
Or even the incentive. I thought she's pretending to do it to get less money, to get less prestige, less opportunity.
Good point. And by the way, black privilege is very high here because you're black. You're going to get the job. You're going to get the opening to the university. Yeah. You just have to say it. Like Rachel, whatever her name
Dolezal
was.
Dolezal, yeah.
She claimed it, and she got all sorts of goodies.
Yeah.
And props for supposedly being black.
Elizabeth Warren did that, too, with pretending to be Native American.
Even better example. Exactly right. Even more of minority status. Okay. I want to move to Israel. Some of the, this goes to credit to analyst Danny Burma, with my own touches.
Yeah.
And this is about the Palestinians and what they're doing in Gaza and otherwise, right? And to understand really what's going on in Israel. Look, we tried to make peace with the Palestinians.
Yeah.
In 1994, we had the Oslo Treaty. And before then, of course, but let's start in 1994. We had the Oslo Treaty. It was a disaster.
Yeah.
Many more people died of terrorist explosions and otherwise after the Oslo Treaty that's ostensibly creating a peace than before the Oslo Treaty. Why? Because Israel had let its guard down and had opened up a lot of the border between Israel and the Palestinian territories.
Right.
Surprise, terrorists wanted in.
Yeah.
Then we offered them a full state 5 times. Exactly what they wanted. They wanted a Palestinian state. They wanted to call it Palestine. It was all the West Bank and Gaza.
Yeah.
With minor touches. I mean, really, trims just to balance. They'll give up some of Israel. They'd give up some of the West Bank. But basically, they got everything they wanted.
Right.
100% of what they wanted in terms of land size and everything else. And each time, thank God, they said no.
Yeah.
Thank God
Right.
they said no. In 2005, this is the one thing I cannot forgive Ariel Sharon, who is my hero in every other respect.
Yeah.
What he did for Israel is incalculable. It's immeasurable. What a great man. There would be no Israel without Ariel Sharon.
Oh.
But then he became prime minister, and he made a horrible mistake. He tried another approach, which is, fine, let's give them a test run, and pulled out all Israelis from Gaza to give them this land and said, here, go for it. He thought that the world would appreciate it and say, good for you, Israel. And not only that, but Israel wouldn't have to expend so much money defending the Jews that did live there.
And they gave him a big thank you, right? And they did
the
kind...
Palestinians were very appreciative and very thankful. They destroyed everything that Israel gave them in the process. A lot of the infrastructure that Israel left behind, including, what do you call it? The gardens with the sun gardens?
Greenhouses?
Greenhouses.
Yeah.
There are these beautiful greenhouses that they left behind. Here, have it.
Yeah.
They destroyed those.
Okay.
It was a disaster in every respect.
Right.
So they pulled every Jew out of Gaza, 70,000 settlers, forcibly removed in most cases.
Yeah, people with their own homes.
Yeah.
They're actually
they had
living
to be yanked out of their homes by Israelis.
By their own people, their own country.
Not a good look. Okay? But that's how much we wanted to unilaterally get out of Gaza. Okay? Because we felt it would advance the cause of peace. We even went so far as to dig up Jewish graves to ensure that Gaza was 100%, without Jews.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
There was a protective element there too, because had they left the graves there, God knows what the Palestinians would have done.
Yeah.
I think they kind of figured that out. Anyway, there were no excuses left.
Yeah.
The Palestinians had a chance to prove that they could run a state.
Right.
Okay? So what did they do? Did they build hospitals, schools, and infrastructure like that?
I could not see them not for their people.
Did they work on nation building?
Yeah.
Did they take this golden opportunity to create a thriving mini-state that had beachfront property? I mean, it was beautiful. It's right there on the beach.
It's a great area. Yeah.
Did they do that to prove to the world that they were ready for independence? Nope.
No.
Instead, they turned Gaza into a terrorist launching pad. Since 2005, Gaza has been a rocket factory, a jihadist training camp, and a tunnel network of exquisite proportions, really. Billions in aid poured in, and instead of building a future, Hamas built weapons to destroy Israel.
Yeah.
So, let's get back to the original question. Who was right?
Yeah.
The dreamers. Remember what I said about naivete being dangerous?
Yeah.
Right? Who was right? The dreamers who kept offering the Palestinians a state, or Bibi Netanyahu, who had warned them and Israel all along that pulling out of Gaza would be a disaster?
Yeah.
That's what Bibi said.
Yeah.
Who was right? The answer now is clear, of course.
Yeah.
The Palestinians never cared about statehood.
No.
They only cared about destroying the Jewish state. That is their nationhood.
Wait,
the destruction of Israel.
How could you say that? Do they have some kind of like constitution or something like that that literally talks about destroying the Jewish state?
That's a good point.
That's absolutely absurd.
That's absurd.
How could you say that?
Yeah,
like that's the most disrespectful thing they do is not listening to what they are saying. They are clear with what they want, and it is not a good thing.
It's in their constitution. It's in their charter, I should say.
Thank you. Yeah.
But effectively, it's their constitution.
Yeah.
That the destruction of Israel is what that is their ultimate goal, and it's not their long-term goal, not just their long-term goal, but also their short-term goal. Their everything they do is about destroying Israel. Like you and I, we think about God every day.
Yes.
Like how can we please God every day? And many Orthodox Jews, they everything they do will be with an eye toward God.
Yeah.
To helping out. And they'll pray to God. They want to do it a certain way, and so
even tying your shoes and even tying your socks and shit. Yeah, it's
the way they dress. I mean, it's all Torah related.
Yeah,
and likewise, the Palestinians have a religion of their own, and that everything they do answers the question: will this help in the destruction of Israel, or won't it? And if it doesn't, well, then don't do it.
Right.
Everything, including the tying over your shoe.
Yeah.
Has to in some way connect with the destruction of Israel.
Yeah.
Then they can be happy.
Right.
Very bizarre people.
Or it's actually kind of interesting if you tie back with Trump, never letting them to know exactly what you want. The Palestinians are saying exactly what they want, and still it keeps on coming where people are like, oh, no, they don't.
Yeah, they don't mean that. No, they can't. They're taking them at their word.
Don't listen to what they've written down
in like
the charter.
Yes.
Like
it's no. Honey, I want to sleep with other women.
Yeah.
Well, no, you don't mean that. Yeah, you're being silly. No, I'm going to be sleeping with other women.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. We're going to be monogamous. It'll be totally cool.
Right.
No worries.
In the marriage contract, in the ketubah, exactly. I am going to put that I can have affairs with other women once a month.
Right.
We're both signing it, but you will never do that, right?
No.
But it's in the ketubah.
He
Let's
wants
just have
to
it
be
there.
monogamous.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he is.
He still loves me. Yeah.
That's right. And or I don't know. There's so many examples. A crocodile saying, he won't eat the chickens that I'm putting in the same garden with him.
Yeah.
Right. Because I believe in this crocodile.
Yeah.
Because I'm giving him food. Otherwise, so he won't eat my chickens.
Right.
That I believe in that.
Yeah.
What a bunch of morons. It's not that the Palestinians that I blame here. They're just evil.
Yeah.
Right. They're like, it's like yelling at a hurricane, being upset with a hurricane or a tornado or a fire.
Yeah.
You can't be like the Palisades fire we just had recently. Right. We're not angry with the fire.
No.
We want to stop it. Yes. But the fire doesn't have its own consciousness.
No.
And the Palestinian people, especially Hamas, but certainly those who support them, which is the Palestinian people.
Yeah.
But I repeat myself.
That's our government.
They are just this force that we just can't we have to stop.
Yeah.
Just like the fires of the Palisades.
Right.
That's the way to look at it. And when you understand that, then you can actually deal with the situation quickly. Hoping that the Palestinians will want their own peace, their own nationhood, and that they want to just thrive and get along with Israel is like hoping that the fire will put itself out or go the other direction or somehow fight itself.
Right.
And then just put itself out. No. You've got to put it out.
Right.
Anyway, it's... actually, the analogy is quite good with the Pacific Palisades because it's what we didn't do that made the fire so awful.
Yeah.
And what Israel did and didn't do vis-a-vis the Palestinians, and to believe that they wanted peace, that was on Israel.
Right.
How many lives would be saved? How many terrorist explosions would have been avoided had Israel simply taken them for what they really were?
Right.
Terrorists.
Yeah.
That have no interest in peace whatsoever. That is the question.
Yeah.
Bibi Netanyahu was right. Okay?
Yeah.
All you tree huggers, including Israelis, by the way, some of them, very few of them now, thank God, they were wrong.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
Gotta tell you something else. Supreme Court lets Trump suspend the grants to teachers over DEI initiatives. So Trump won on that score.
Nice.
So he's able to continue to not have to rehire anybody.
Right.
This involves like several thousands of people. Also, the Supreme Court pauses an order to rehire 16,000 federal probationary workers as well. And then also, Supreme Court said that Trump did not have to bring back anybody on the Venezuela airplane. Trinidad de Agua crap, all that stuff. He's not required to do that. And implicitly understood that the 1797 Illegal Alien Act, or whatever it was, the Aliens Enemy Act.
Alien Sedition.
Enemy. I think it's called the Alien Enemy Act. Was valid.
Right.
And then he could work on that. So, oops.
Yeah.
Right? Now, here's the thing, and I don't want to drill too much on this, but Amy Coney Barrett sided with the 3 liberal justices to dissent on that score.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, I was on Newsmax about this very issue, and it's hard to explain. I don't understand. But somebody else pointed this out, and I wish it's right there in front of you. All the 4 dissenters, including Amy Coney Barrett, were women.
Yeah.
All the women on the court, 4 of them, said that this was essentially mean. They didn't have any real constitutional basis for it. They just didn't like it. It just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Tough crap.
Yeah.
These are illegal aliens who are also gang members.
Yeah.
Okay. And you want to keep them here because what? Well, there's due process. That's the issue. Well, what does due process look like?
Yeah.
Does that mean now that you take them away from the presidential authority? That's what the Aliens Seditions Act says.
Yeah.
He can do that. He doesn't say that he has to now, allow them go to the district court and have a judge decide. No, the only due process that should be involved here is to determine whether or not they're in fact American citizens.
Right.
If they're not, get the hell out.
Yeah.
Okay. If they're American citizens, different story. They might be tried for all sorts of other crimes. I get that, but drug trafficking and sex trafficking and so on. But no, this is not acceptable.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And they keep on showing their hand to the opposition, where they're saying they committed no crime. Well, they're illegally in the country.
Yeah.
I don't understand how that's not a crime to you.
Yeah.
They're and then they commit crimes on top of that, and still you're like, eh.
Look, I was going to call this the quote, "Wow, that was no real surprise," unquote segment of the Barak Lurie podcast.
Yeah.
But in a way, I mean, I'm glad we're on the winning side of it, but it was a 5-4 decision.
Yeah.
It should have been a 9-0 decision.
Oh, yeah.
Easily. But anyway, they did vacate that lower court order blocking the deportations under the Alien Enemies Act. That was from the stupid judge who had his 15 minutes of fame, and that's it. Yeah, what is it? Boasberg.
Boasberg, yeah.
Yeah, what a schmuck. This is a huge win for Trump, and this is from Town Hall. In a significant win for the Trump administration, the Supreme Court granted the president's request to lift a stay that had been blocking deportations of the Venezuelan nationals. This ruling allows the administration to move forward with its plan to expel individuals from Venezuela who are living in the U.S. illegally despite previous legal challenges. And this means that the court is in support of Trump's use of the 1797 wartime immigration law, the Alien Enemies Act. I think that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Now, this is interesting. The Trump administration is now shopping around for private contractors who can build immigrant detention facilities across the United States.
Nice.
And that's the way to do it, not give it to the public.
No.
This signifies plans for a massive expansion of the United States deportation operations. In a newly listed request for proposals, Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials asked contractors to submit plans for new facilities, security, medical support, and other services for a price tag of $45 billion over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Good. That's what government is supposed to do.
Yeah.
I'm always happy about that.
Right.
All right. Nevertheless, however, some people think that immigrants, illegal or not, are great for the country.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, exactly right.
And they always come off as incredibly racist when they say that.
I know. Well, okay, you got it.
Did I? Okay, sorry.
You're getting ahead of me, and I love it that you're getting ahead of me. Take a listen to your friend, Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman.
She is difficult.
You hang out with her. I don't know why.
She tells me she loves me, but
I don't know if that's true anymore. All right, take a listen to how she describes about immigrants.
So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands.
When the wheels fall off.
You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
Okay. So, that's absurd. First of all, she's going around the country educating people is what she said.
Okay.
Because she knows stuff.
Yeah.
She knows stuff better than you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, she does. Yeah.
So about what immigrants do. Okay. No, I can tell you what immigrants do.
Yeah.
The illegal ones, at least. They're here illegally.
Right.
That's the number one thing that I want you to know about illegal immigrants.
Right.
They're not supposed to be here.
Right.
Okay. Secondly, we've got a major problem with drug trafficking and sex trafficking.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of them, not all of them, you always have to say not all of them, but a lot of them do that.
Right.
And there's a problem when you don't have accountability, if you don't have something to lose. Look, one of the reasons why my wife and I never hired an illegal alien to babysit or nanny our kids, or even do the housework in our house. A lot of couples do that for 2 days a week or something.
Oh, yeah.
We used to do that, but never with an illegal.
Yeah.
First of all, because it's not right. I mean, I want to be, consistent. I don't want, on the one hand, decry illegal immigration. On the other hand, under the table, agree with illegal immigration and get the benefits of it, as it were. But a more selfish reason why we didn't do it, and this cuts to the very issue, is that I want her to be accountable.
Yes.
God forbid, let's say, the illegal alien nanny, the hypothetical, because we didn't hire one, but let's say we had an illegal alien nanny who barely spoke English, and she's taking care of the kids, and something terrible happens to one of the kids.
Yeah.
God forbid. Something like, they drown. She wasn't looking, and she was on the phone, and the kid drowns.
Yeah.
She runs away.
Yeah.
She's got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
She'll go to a different state, or she'll go back to her old country.
Right.
And we'll never hear from her again. That ain't acceptable to me. That was reason enough alone not to hire an illegal alien.
Right.
Once somebody is legal, is a citizen, has the right to vote for that matter, or even a green card has that right to work here.
Yeah.
And to be sued, then they've got something to lose.
100%.
And the possibility of being deported and everything else. All the hard work will have just disappear. That's one of the reasons. And she doesn't get this. Crockett does not get that. And what she's suggesting here is we need illegal immigrants to pick cotton for us.
Right.
I don't know that people pick cotton anymore. I believe there's the cotton gin and other things that have advanced. But I understand she's using that. But it's like she says, well, we need slaves.
100%.
This is the point that Matt Walsh made. I want to give him credit because it was a really good point. I guess you want slaves.
Well, yeah.
Or people who are working for virtually nothing. I thought you wanted a minimum wage.
OSHA.
Yeah, an OSHA. That's right. But when they say that the illegal immigrants do the jobs that Americans won't do, first of all, where's the evidence of that?
Right.
That's just in your head. That's like when they tell you that transgender people will kill themselves unless they have a surgery. Where's the evidence of that? There's so many things that they threw out there.
Yeah.
But anyway, where's the evidence that that's true?
Right.
If you paid people your gloried $20 an hour minimum wage to pick cotton because you said it, you made it a law, I guarantee you some people will pick cotton. They'll be happy to pick cotton.
100%.
Yep.
And they keep on wanting to raise the minimum wage, but then they always say, like, let's clean your bathroom because somehow it's undignified. I think people are better off if they actually clean their own bathroom. I think psychologically you just it's a good thing to keep you grounded. But again, like do you want high minimum wage, but these people are less, or these people are...
It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah.
All right. This is interesting. The Internal Revenue Service, the IRS, has agreed to help Homeland Security officials find immigrants they are trying to deport, court records have showed. The agreement is a major departure from the IRS's efforts to gain the trust of migrants and encourage them to file their taxes. Yeah. Like as if that's the thing.
Yeah.
As if that's what they're really interested in.
Yeah.
Okay, the IRS couldn't give a crap about migrants, illegal migrants no less, because it's all about filing your taxes. No. Something has changed in the past, I don't know, say 3.5, 4 months.
Yeah.
A new sheriff in town, perhaps.
Yeah.
The DHS will enforce a law that will allow them to fine illegal aliens up to $998 a day. I don't know why not $1,000, but anyway, $998 a day for failing to self-deport from the United States.
That is amazing.
How awesome is that?
Yeah.
This is a 1996 law.
Yeah.
Okay? That's still in the books that allows the government to seize property for non-payment as well.
Oh, wow.
Okay? This is from David Strom. I had no idea that Bill Clinton signed into a bill. This is Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
A large fine for aliens who defy a deportation order.
See, that's nice.
Apparently, neither did many other people because the law had just been sitting there unused over the past 4 years. With somewhere between 20 to 30 million illegal aliens in America and a mandate to deport them given to President Trump.
Yeah.
This is a fantastic thing. So now we can use that. You're not self-deporting. You're not out of here. Okay, that's fine. Every day you're here, almost $1,000 a day.
I wonder if you could, with the taking their things, they have an apartment. Can they actually take the apartment? Because now the landlord is getting
Oh, no, they can't take the apartment.
Okay.
If they own the apartment, sure.
Damn.
Yeah.
Because I would love to find the businesses that actually hire.
You can find the landlord.
Yeah.
You can find him for harboring an illegal alien or knowingly harboring an illegal alien.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what W-9 is all about.
Okay,
to some extent. So that's an employer relationship, but we can do something similar with landlords.
Yeah.
And we should.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we got all Americans reporting each other for IRS purposes, right? Yeah. I mean, we're all ratting on each other. Oh, I paid this guy, don't you know?
Yeah.
This amount. So with all the 1099s and everything else, right?
Yeah.
So why not be able to do that when it comes to illegal aliens? I mean, we should be able to say, okay, well, look, I'm finding out for you whether or not this guy is illegal. I'm not going to give him a job.
Right.
At the very least, you don't have to arrest him, but you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't be giving him a job if you know or have reason to know that he's not legal.
It's so heartbreaking how, with the illegals, they care about due process. Jan 6 did not care about due process. Pro-life activists did not care about due process. But they care about it with the illegal aliens. They want them to have all the rights, but not their own citizens.
Yes. Oh, beautifully said. All right. I want to talk about some more about the Trump actions.
Yeah.
One of them is that he wants to pass this big, beautiful bill that would otherwise, clean up a lot of what we're doing, spending fiscally and otherwise, including keeping the taxes low, extending the tax base. The tax cuts that were supposed to sunset this year, and the inheritance tax, and a lot of other things that Trump has really wanted to do. And now we have not just a mandate for the executive branch, but also we have a majority in Congress and the Senate.
Yeah.
Okay, so take a listen to how he deals with this to the Republican, what is it called? The National Republican Congressional Committee dinner. Okay? So I like the way he phrases it. He wants to be very direct with his Republican colleagues.
They have to do this. They have to get there. And I think we are there. We had a great meeting today. I think we are there. But just in case there are a couple of Republicans out there, you just got to get there. Close your eyes and get there. It's a phenomenal bill. Stop grandstanding. Just stop grandstanding. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Their policy, the Democrats, is horrible. It's horrible. Think of it, open borders, just all of the horrible, stupid things they have.
Yeah, so the gist of it is sign the bill. And they're complaining, well, I can't, some Republicans are saying, I can't really, sign on the dotted line here. There's some confusion here. You know what? You signed.
Yeah.
A lot of you guys signed onto Obamacare and the so-called infrastructure bill, whatever it's called, the Anti-Inflation Act.
Yeah.
Whatever the nonsense that they had.
The Patriot Act.
And you know what? If you think it's too long to read, is that the reason why? Then here's what I propose. Give it to ChatGPT and ask for a summary.
Yeah.
Okay? That's it. Yeah. Summarize it or explain it as you would to an 8th grader.
Right.
Okay? Because you can do that in the ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And then each senator and congressman can say, oh, okay, now I understand it. Okay?
Yeah.
Just sign it. Because what we have now, and that's the point that Trump says, is terrible.
Yeah.
Okay? The Democrats, their policies are insane.
Yeah.
So it may not be perfect to your liking, but it's a hell of a lot better than what we have now. And that's a very fair standard.
Yeah.
Okay? So take a look at it. That's fine. Summarize it for yourself. Discuss it among yourselves, but sign the friggin' bill.
Yeah.
Okay? And if you don't, then you're really hurting this country.
Well, and the Biden, the first 100 days, everyone except for Trump, they give him deference. They allow him to have some bills. They don't criticize him during the first 100 days. They're a lot more chill. And all they're doing is constantly attacking him, constantly going after him. And this man has been through more than almost any president, if not any president has been.
Yes.
Facing life imprisonment. 2 assassination attempts at least. Like, he's not the silly, jovial kind of frivolous, fun one that he was the last time. This guy is serious, and he is getting things done.
And he's learned a lot from the first time and from the time that he wasn't president.
Yeah.
So this is Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Now, the only difference is I think Return of the Jedi was not as good as the original Star Wars, but you get my drift.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? We're back in power. We're returning, and great things are happening.
Payback.
I do want to blow up the Death Star. I think that part is really good.
Yeah.
So we are blowing up the Death Star.
Yeah, doging it. Yeah.
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 I like that.
Yeah.
Very good. This is from Town Hall. President Trump has ordered the FBI to declassify documents related to the Crossfire Hurricane Russia investigation in a bold move aimed at increasing transparency and holding the deep state accountable.
Yep.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah.
Crossfire Hurricane, this related directly to him.
Yeah.
Now he gets to sit in the driver's seat and say, I want to see all the documents. I have the authority.
Yeah.
And it's all going to come out.
God,
this order comes after years of speculation and concern over the biased and politically motivated origins of the probe, that means Crossfire Hurricane, which many conservatives argue was a coordinated effort to undermine the presidency. You think?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. But this is such a great moment. This is exactly why they fought him so hard during the campaign, because they knew this stuff was going to come out.
Right.
I mean, you think that releasing the JFK files was something, the Martin Luther King files. That ain't nothing compared to what we're going to learn about Crossfire Hurricane.
Yeah.
I'm just delighted that this is coming out.
Yeah.
All right, really quickly, Greenland. Okay.
Yes.
We have to have Greenland.
Yes.
Right? It's now clear to me that we have to have it. Vance believes that Greenlanders will choose the West to become independent.
Give them a choice. A choice. Who wouldn't want to be American versus no one even knows. It's a Dane, a Denmarkian. Like, nobody even knows what they are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly right.
Yep.
They don't know what they are. They're not protecting it.
No.
At some point, we've got to protect Greenland.
Yes.
And to do a really good job of it, we need to be there in the full sense of the word, not ask permission from Denmark. They're not acting like a responsible democracy, Denmark. No. I love Denmark. There's a lot of great things about Denmark, especially when it had a conservative president. But now we really need to have a change when it comes to Greenland. Look, the map changes all the time.
Yeah.
We're seeing that with Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah.
Whether Trump gets involved and succeeds in changing that map, it's going to change.
Yeah.
It changed while Obama was president. No thanks to Obama, by the way.
Yeah.
But Crimea was taken.
Right.
It was just gobbled up. But a lot of things happened.
Yeah.
After the Soviet Union collapsed, guess what? The map completely changed.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so why is it so crazy, the idea that Greenland might belong to America as a territory? Not as it doesn't have to be a state.
Yeah.
Just be a commonwealth, I guess.
A commonwealth. And there's always certain Canadian provinces that are more conservative that could be liberated as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So we talked a little bit before about the violence aspect of wishing for violence upon the president and approving and applauding Luigi Mangione, that guy, that schmuck. Yeah. This is really an interesting thing. When people died in the riots, we got the "I don't approve of violence, but" excuses, right?
Yeah.
Which amounted to "I approve of his violence," right?
Yeah.
And that is the case when it comes to Luigi Mangione, and it's the case where they're approving violence against Trump, for that matter.
Yeah.
Now, Rutgers University and the National Contagion Research Institute have partnered on a study to determine to what extent people approve of political violence. And they have discovered a growing assassination culture.
Oh, God.
Developing on the left.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't think, look, I'm glad that they are able to articulate it, but they're giving a phrase to a phenomenon that we are seeing right in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
It's not a surprise, is it?
No.
For a lot of people on the street that you're bumping into, a lot of them are just on the edge of committing some atrocious crime.
Yeah.
I don't think that far away from Luigi Mangione.
No.
Now, you might say Luigi was drugged out. He had drugs. I don't know. Maybe he had a lot of alcohol. Not quite sure that is the distinction.
Yeah.
I think you need a lot of the impetus by way of a core belief that what you are doing is God's work.
Right.
Not that they believe in God.
Yeah.
But you get the idea. They think they're doing something tremendously noble.
Right.
And they see people taking down statues, burning Teslas, and Cybertrucks, and so on. They see all this happening and they figure, well, that's a good thing.
All right.
This is why we have to arrest them. That's why we have to take them to task and have them spend a lot of time in jail. And to the extent that there's a death associated with the attacks on the Teslas and Cybertrucks, then the death penalty also.
Right.
But until you do that, until you give them that sense, they feel like the government is giving them a pass. Just like we gave them a sense of a pass with the Black Lives Matter riots. Yeah. And that was unacceptable.
Yeah, we've got to tone down the rhetoric because the civil rights movement, I want to judge a man not by the color of skin, but the content of character. We should be able to go into Woolworths. You could easily say it. Luigi Mangione, I've dealt with American healthcare. I've dealt with American health insurance. I get his sentiment. I actually understand that. Right. But the Democrats' hatred of Trump, they can't even intimate it.
Yes.
Why do you hate Elon Musk? You loved him before. Now you hate him. Why? Can you? Oh, because he has their hands on all of our stuff. Actually, the very opposite. They're getting their hands off the stuff. They're cutting government control. They're cutting government taxes. But they don't have and I think that makes them crazy because they don't even have an argument they can talk about with words. And it is the Democrat Party. It are very specific people trying to make this happen. And I hope they suffer. I hope they're tried and indicted for this very thing that they're doing.
They should be.
Yeah.
They should be. Okay, two other smaller stories, but important stories all the time because it's a sign of the times.
Yeah.
This is from the New York Post. Socialist Republican Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was photographed flying first class to a Bernie Sanders event last month.
Dun, dun, dun.
With critics saying it shows how she battles inequality, one mimosa at a time.
Oh, that's kind of cute.
It's cute, right? I like that.
Yeah, well written.
An incredulous passenger snapped the AOC a snapped AOC picture getting comfy in the roomy first-class cabin of JetBlue Flight 511 on March 19, departing from JFK Airport in Queens to Las Vegas, where she spoke at a Sanders rally titled Fighting Oligarchy.
Yeah.
Right? So the hypocrisy is so blatant, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we conservatives, we don't begrudge anyone from taking first class because if they can afford it, more power to them.
Yeah.
I love it when I'm in first class. Usually it's because I'm upgraded, but I don't mind paying for first class if it's reasonably priced,
Right.
or business class at least.
Yeah.
If I can afford it, I do it, and I don't apologize for that. I'm not saying it or anything that is inconsistent with my flying business class.
Right.
But don't tell me that the man is trying to put you down when you are availing yourself of first class. You feel like somehow you're above all that. This is what the communist leaders essentially said, that everyone's equal except that some people are more equal than others.
Yeah, she's exactly the same line.
Yeah.
They pretend they're working for the poor as they become massively wealthy.
Yes. I think it bothers me so much that these people think that this is okay.
And if you watched Trump in the McDonald's, if you watched Trump just talking to people at diners, even J.D. Vance, but especially Trump, he loves regular people. And you can tell. AOC, I've never seen her talk to a regular person.
Yeah, by the way, that's a great example. Trump is a perfect example.
Yeah.
So he does love talking to regular Joes.
Yeah.
And they know that he travels first class. In fact, he travels on his own private jet.
Yeah, he totally does.
And they don't begrudge him for that. And he doesn't pretend that he doesn't fly in a private jet.
No.
And it says Trump right there on his plane. Now it's Air Force One, of course.
Right.
But before, he was flying around in the Trump plane. And everyone loved him.
And he's wearing a suit and everyone else does this condescending I'm going to dress like a country person and all that, or a condescending accent.
Yes.
He's exactly who he is. He wears this suit all the time, and he can actually relate to people and look them in the eye and be who he is.
Bingo.
Yeah.
All right, one more story, and this is the last one before we have to go. We're running out of time. This is a story out of Colorado. Colorado House Democrats have secretly, it is secretly, I guess, but they've recently, I guess not secretly, they've recently approved a bill designating misgendering, quote unquote, as a form of discrimination.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bill also allows for the removal of children from their parents who misgender them and encourages schools to actively support transgender ideologies.
There you go. Take away the kids.
So let me get this straight, Devin.
Yeah.
You get to confuse the child about who he or she is, and then if the parents don't go along with the confusion that you created, then you can have the state remove the child from those parents.
Yeah.
That's the power that you want over power. So if the parents ever complain about anything, I don't like the way you're teaching my kids' class, history class, for example. Well, we might take your kids away. Suddenly, the teacher, has this outsized power over the parents.
Yeah.
It's not what we want. We want the parents to say, you need to answer to me, not that I have to answer to you.
Yep. And the kid doesn't get ice cream My parents misgendered me.
That's right.
Or Mr. gendered me.
Oh.
Because, sorry.
All right.
Okay, that was horrible.
That was really terrible.
And adoption.
Especially when we're trying to end this podcast in a classy way. No, he has to.
But also, they take away adoption rights from anybody who's religious, conservative, or any way common sense.
You could do anything. As soon as this is how they get you. It's like the one-child policy. Or the communist, the so-called McCarthy era, which was not really the McCarthy era.
He was right.
But he was right. But the way they like to portray it is that, if you didn't do what, you wanted somebody to do, you would threaten to call him a communist.
Yep.
And in the one-child era of China, if a neighbor didn't like you, they would say, "We think that you're pregnant."
Yeah.
And then the authorities would come and beat the crap out of the wife.
Yeah.
And that's the way it was. Or they were pregnant and they were trying to hide it, but the neighbor found out about it one way or the other. And then they could do all sorts of leverage with the neighbor. This is the kind of stuff that will happen when you allow this sort of power.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's interesting to me also is that this idea of the telling kids to consider themselves a boy when they're a girl and vice versa. And not just that, but the state can remove them and everything else. It's similar to a cult.
Yeah.
No? Right?
100%.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and now it's like a cult tells the members, don't talk to your parents. We will be your family from now on.
Yep.
Give us everything. In this case, give us your mind.
Yeah.
But it's a cult.
Yeah.
And they have they don't realize they're doing this, that it's specifically a cult.
Yeah.
They're doing it to undermine family, but maybe that's not their intention. Maybe they think they're protecting the transgender world. And then the Democrats say, "Oh, look, this is how you won the election based on transgenderism. It's such a small nothing issue. And this is what you blew it up into." No, you guys were the ones who started this. You guys were the ones who insisted on separate bathrooms. You were the guys who insisted that men should be in locker rooms for girls. You were the ones who said that they should be able to play in sports.
Yeah.
And you made laws out of this. And then you're surprised when we responded to it.
Yeah.
It's like the tariff situation.
Yeah.
Right? They had the audacity to impose all these terrible tariffs on us. And then they're surprised when we respond.
Yeah. We're standing up to the bully. We're not the bully. You're the bully.
And with that, we will conclude our show, I think. All right, folks, I hear the music playing already. So I really enjoyed talking about this. And God bless Trump for really pushing the tariff issues. Like I said, it's all about being unpredictable. And he's doing it with beauty. Really, it's an amazing thing to watch. In the meantime, Barak Lurie signing off saying, God bless, be strong, and we'll talk with you next week.